As we're coming on the air tonight, Milton, a catastrophic Category 3 hurricane, has just made landfall near Siesta Key, Florida. Now, this is a life-threatening situation, with officials stressing if you did not get out, you need to be sheltering in place right now. This is a live look at the conditions in Fort Myers, Florida, as we speak. Milton is packing winds of up to 120 miles per hour. Nearly 800,000 people are already without power. Storm surge warnings are in effect up and down the coast, as some parts could see up to 15 feet of rising water tonight. Now, this is on top of a record-breaking number of dangerous tornadoes ripping through the center of Florida throughout this chaotic day. Dozens of twisters through communities hours before landfall. Again, that is ahead of the hurricane. Some areas already reporting roofs torn apart and people hurt. There were more than 100 tornado warnings today, the most ever in Florida in a single day. We will have special coverage over the next 2 hours tracking Hurricane Milton as it makes landfall. Our team of correspondents are on the ground all across Florida, and top story anchor Tom Yamas will be guiding us through these critical hours as he rides through the hurricane from the ground zero of Sarasota County. His team is repositioning as we speak. But first, for an overview of what so much of Florida is facing right now, let's start with NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman. Angie, we've got that super destructive eye wall that has inched closer to where Tom and his team have been. Now he is inside of that eye wall. What are conditions looking like all around Florida right now?
Hey there, Gotti. Yeah, so the thing is, if you're inside of the eye wall, all is calm. We saw some reports that it's even a little humid. You start to hear really everything that's going on around you, but it's that eye wall that is so destructive that we are so concerned about when it comes to wind damage, when it comes to the rainfall, and of course on the backside of that system, all of the water being shoved up against the coast. We did have landfall, you mentioned it, in Siesta Key just a little while ago. This system is going to continue cruising to the north and east here as basically the next 12 hours goes on, but notice how aggressive this band of rain is set up across parts of Tampa, Bradenton and points north of that, St. Pete included in that, the Tampa area. We're watching the eye kind of right around here. The south of that, that's where we're starting to see the storm surge really ramp up. It's been ongoing. It's going to continue to get worse here as we go through at least the next 2 hours for areas Sarasota and points south towards Venice, even Naples recording 5 to 6 feet of storm surge already. Those numbers are going to continue to be on the rise here as the next couple of hours go by. Notice this blue box. That's an extreme wind warning. That's going to go until 9:30 tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets extended. That means that basically you're talking about very aggressive and destructive winds. The National Weather Service tells you to act like this is a tornado warning happening right over you. So that's exactly what people should be doing if they chose to stay in this area for inland areas along I-4, Tampa Bay, St. Pete, all of that included. And again, stretching down into the Bradenton area where you see these purple and red returns on a radar. That means torrential, really aggressive rainfall at the same time. This system is kind of north loaded. So you see on the northern side of the eye wall, that's where the strongest winds are, and that's where the heaviest of the rain is. On the backside, it doesn't mean that there aren't, really damaging effects happening there with the eye wall, but if you're in this area, you're going to see more power outages here. You're going to likely see, as the sun comes up tomorrow, a lot of wind damage going through this eye wall in places like Bloomingdale, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater even. And that's just the wind damage that we'll watch for there. Now, one thing to note, this system's going to stay together as a hurricane here as it crosses the state. It'll do so pretty quick. Notice this is 2 p.m. on Thursday. It's already out in the Atlantic. So I would say by 11 a.m., maybe noon, it'll be out of the state of Florida and off into those ocean waters. But it's still going to be a Category 1, and we're still going to see those Category 1 hurricane force winds associated with it as it works across central Florida, Orlando area, and across the Space Coast as well. On top of that, those heavy rains will also be there. When it comes to the storm surge, this is what we feared so much leading up to this storm system. We've got over 4 feet of storm surge happening for Naples right now. We've got almost 4 feet in Fort Myers. This, of course, nothing compared to what they dealt with in Hurricane Ian, but this number is going to go up, and this is well away from the center of that system. We're probably talking about much higher ranges a little farther to the north. We unfortunately don't have gauges there to tell us that there just simply is not gauges in that area, Gotti. So we're going to have to wait until, of course, the light of day to see some of what the worst of that storm surge brings. Right now in the Tampa Tampa Bay, we have reverse storm surge going on. So the water rushing out with those offshore winds. This is going to continue here for the next couple of hours, and we'll see, the system continue to move across the state with the other impacts that it'll bring to folks there here over the next 12 hours or so.
Angie Lastman with a little bit of good news for Tampa Bay with those negative storm surge numbers. But we have Stephanie Gosk, who is in Tampa Bay right now, and that is where we're seeing the worst of the torrential rain. Stephanie, what are you seeing on the ground right now? We know there's been torrential rain and flooding, but the storm surge might not be as bad as feared. So describe the situation that you're in right now.
Yeah, Gotti, it's the rain, but it is also the wind. I mean, we are seeing ferocious gusts of wind. They have to have topped 100. They were up to 95, 96 earlier, maybe about a half an hour ago, and they've just picked up and ratcheted it up even further. We're seeing trees bent over, signs whipping off of buildings. This is certainly the worst that it has gotten. And then there is the rain, the torrential rain. It's been raining all day here, but has started to come down much faster and much harder. You can tell these gusts are coming in pretty strong. Their rain, according to Bill Cairns, for the next 3 or 4 hours, this area of Tampa could get 2 to 3 inches of rain an hour. That will be on top of what's already fallen. So, yes, there isn't going to be the storm surge here in Tampa Bay, but you're looking at upwards of a foot of rain falling on a place that is already saturated from a previous storm, on top of the damage that this wind is inevitably doing on this region as I talk to you.
And Stephanie, people may be tuning in right now and wondering, how are you still standing and those palm trees behind you are blowing like crazy? Can you walk us through some of the safety precautions you and your team have taken?
It's a great question. We are actually in a parking garage made out of cement. We are on the 3rd story of the parking garage, and we are surrounded by 3 walls basically. So you're looking out at the wind. But I can tell you, even the wind coming in here, I'm slightly slight of frame. If it hits me just the right way, I almost tumble over. I mean, it is that strong, and it's much stronger out on the streets here. We are in an area that it's close to where there are some hotels and a mall. You just don't see any sign of cars or people or anything. They have cleared out. They have heeded the warnings. They're staying in place, and we are taking precautions to be safe here as well, Gotti.
Stephanie, it seems like Tampa has had a lot of close calls over the years, but a hurricane hasn't hit that area directly in almost a century. So how prepared is Tampa for a hurricane?
Yeah, well, this entire coast of Florida just gets hit at various stages in various ways from hurricanes. It is a fact of life. You live here. And yes, there hasn't been a hurricane that has directly hit Tampa in a century, but people here know that they're going to have to do it. There's a great example and a critical one for the city of Tampa, and that is the Tampa General Hospital. And they have taken incredible measures to make sure that they can stay operational. They are such a critical place for people to get care, especially during a storm where people could get hurt. They have flood walls that protect for storm surge up to 12 feet. They have their own power plant, Gotti, to keep the lights on 32 feet above sea level. They have moved all of the patients and doctors and staff out of the 1st floor, and they keep 5 full days of supplies and medicines and food so that they can wait out whatever might happen. They are perhaps the most critical infrastructure of this city, and it just goes to show that people know that these storms are going to come through. But this period of time, Hurricane Helene, followed by this storm, it is a 1-2 punch that they have not seen in this city in a very long time, Gotti.
Incredible, the power of Mother Nature behind you there, Stephanie Gosk in Tampa. Thank you so much. And for a split screen here, let's go to Tom Yamas, who is in Sarasota right now. Tom, just before this, I was watching your coverage, and you were in the eye of the storm. And, we just saw Stephanie Gosk kind of getting blown around in the shelter of concrete. Describe the situation that you're in, because you were right in that eye, right?
Yeah, the eye was incredibly calm. It was quiet. It was eerily quiet. And unfortunately, when it gets like that, it brings people out. And so now I'm going to be kind of looking out of the corner of my eye because there's a lot of people in sort of high water pickup trucks, if you will. And they're just sort of zooming around, looky-loos, if you will. They're doing donuts. They're trying to splash the water in different directions. It's dangerous, it's reckless, and what they don't realize is that now that the eye wall or the back eye wall is about to hit us, this is the strongest part of the hurricane. So the eye is obviously very calm. Now that is past, the strongest hurricane force winds are going to hit us. What I do want to show you, though, Gotti, is pretty incredible. This is the beginning of the storm surge. When we came out here, maybe about 15, 30 minutes ago, there wasn't water here. It's moving really, really fast. You can actually see it on the camera as it's pushing forward. This is coming from the bay. It's coming right into Sarasota. And this is the big fear right now. It's not going to get too serious until those hurricane force winds start pushing that water ahead. It could be anywhere from 8 to 12 feet. The power behind me, you notice, is out. So we're dealing with some power outages right now. But again, we're still sort of feeling the effects of the eye of the storm, which, even though this is a monster hurricane, it's a phenomenon of weather. It is incredible. It is completely calm right now. It is the Zen spot, if you will, of the hurricane right before the chaos starts once again. And that's the backside of the storm. And the wind gusts are picking up a little bit, Gotti. So we know it's coming in maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes.
15, 20, 30 minutes. How long have you been in the storm, sir? How long have you been in the eye there?
You know, the eye, I'd say, and I have my team out here with us. What do we think, guys? Like maybe 30, 45 minutes? Probably about 45 minutes. Our audio engineer, Mr. Pope, who's an experienced storm chaser here, he's been with us, been monitoring the conditions. He thinks it's about 45 minutes. I think he's right. But again, Gotti, like, it's hard to explain. I've covered a lot of hurricanes, and you forget how calm it is in the eye. I mean, it was blowing. There are trees that are already down in Sarasota, and then suddenly it just stops. And it feels like any summer night in Sarasota, and now it's picking up again. What I'm worried about is the people that have come out, because there's a lot of cars now that are out here. They shouldn't be. But the police said, listen, we're not coming back out until after the storm. So these people know that the cops aren't going to be out here. And, you know, there's, again, looky-loos, people being cavalier. I'm going to show you one right now. It's coming through here. George, we can pass over here. You have a lot of vehicles like this. They're high-water vehicles. You know, they're pickup trucks. They're Wranglers. They have huge tires. And in some cases, not that guy, but in some cases they're doing donuts. They're revving their engines up. They're trying to have fun in a hurricane, which, again, I mean, whatever floats your boat, but, you know, it's not safe.
No, and it's so misleading. I mean, when you're in the eye, it's eerie. There is almost a beauty to it, because you're in this storm that has been battering the area for hours and hours and hours, and all of a sudden there's this calm, and yet you see the destructive nature on the backside, which is what you're going to be experiencing here in the next hour, 2 hours. Does it seem like most people have heeded the warnings? Does it seem like most people have evacuated and left?
It did, until the eye came over us, and then we started seeing all these pickups and all these cars coming through here. So it was calm. It was quiet. It looked like it's safe. Look, we're staying in a hotel on the water, and people have come out. There are people staying in the hotel. This is an evacuation zone, though. But I think some of the people in the hotels that are high up, our hotel is very high up. I'd say it's probably maybe 50 to 100 feet up, 50 to 100 feet up. So, you know, we feel very protected here. But again, I got to tell you, Gotti, the water here, it's wild. It's coming in. And the rate that it's coming in is pretty fast. So I think over the next 4 or 5 hours, we're going to see some serious flooding in Sarasota. I mean, it was forecasted. It's just the question is how high it's going to be. You see, this is what I'm talking about here. People just zooming by, going as fast as they can in some cases.
Wow. And the storm surge was it was a huge concern a little bit north of you, and it looks like that is now shifted south. Does it look like the storm surge is already starting to set in where you are?
Yeah, look, it looks like it's coming in. I mean, the big fear was the storm surge in Tampa Bay, that black swan event. Luckily, and not luckily for other communities, but luckily for Tampa Bay, the storm, you know, it hit a little south of Tampa. If it hit north, it'd be a much different story. That's why Sarasota will feel the brunt of that storm surge, and that's why people here are concerned tonight. Again, once we get to that back of that eye wall, it's going to be a much different story. Gotti, I'm going to pick up our coverage now, because I know our colleague Priscilla Thompson is standing by in Orlando. She's been covering the tornadoes and the tornado threats throughout the central and eastern part of the state. Priscilla, what can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, so we know that there have been dozens of reported tornadoes throughout central and southern part of the state, and we've seen some pretty dramatic footage of the damage. In St. Lucie County, there was a sheriff's building that is now just a pile of mangled metal. And we're talking about a 10,000 square foot building that has just been destroyed by a reported tornado. We also got some traffic cam in from Fort Pierce, Florida, where you just see these huge debris flying by as there is a funnel cloud there. And there are also reports of some injuries in some places as a result of these tornadoes. The good news is that a number of those tornado watches did expire at 9 p.m. So there's hopes that we will not see any more of that tonight, but certainly a very terrifying experience on top of an already very destructive and potentially deadly storm. Tom?
Okay, Priscilla Thompson first. Priscilla, we appreciate it. We thank you for all your reporting. Please stay safe. I do want to talk to the emergency management operator for Sarasota County, where we are tonight. Oh, okay. I think we're gonna dial in and talk to her soon. Do we still have Priscilla? All right, Priscilla. We still have you, so I think we're going to stick with you for a little bit. But while we do this, I want to show that the people we're talking about, people in the looky-loos not taking things seriously. There's a couple on a motorcycle right now, just going through a massive hurricane. Again, we're in the eye, so it's calm, but probably not the best idea, especially when the storm surge has started. You can see it here. The water is rising, and it's actually rising surprisingly fast. I mean, I've covered hurricanes before, and you see that storm surge come in, but you can actually see the rate at which the water's coming in, pushing some of the debris. Luckily, there were no debris piles out here on the coast of Sarasota. We know that in the neighborhoods and the suburbs there are, but thankfully they cleared out all that debris here. The wind's still not that strong. Priscilla, I'm curious, where you are in Orlando, what kind of effects are you feeling from the hurricane?
Yeah, Tom. So the rain is starting to come down harder. Already we're seeing some water beginning to pool on some of the roadways here, and the winds are also starting to pick up. And so right now officials are saying if you are not yet sheltering, you have about a half hour to do that before the worst of this storm is expected to move in and make things a lot more complicated here. And what is interesting about this area is that during Hurricane Ian, they saw devastating flooding, and Milton is expected to be far worse. We're talking about up to 14 inches of rain here that could just cause catastrophic flooding in addition to the 80-mile-per-hour winds. And there are people who have evacuated to this area. I spoke to a woman who lives in St. Petersburg, said that she lost everything during Hurricane Helene. All that she has left there is a 10-foot by 10-foot storage unit that is on the first floor in St. Petersburg with all of her life's possessions. They drove up here to Orlando today, and she is just numb. She says that she doesn't know what to expect. I want to play a little bit of that conversation I had with her.
You're really kind of numb. You're really just kind of numb. We've all been in shock. Just your adrenaline just takes over. We've been through a lot of suffering, so I think we understand suffering in just such different ways, and I know that we get through it.
And so many people here just feeling lost. And that woman, I don't know if you could see, was clutching a rosary. And she told me that she has been praying nonstop, hoping that this storm will not be as bad as it is projected to be, especially here in Orlando, where she and her family are sheltering. Tom?
All right, Priscilla, we thank you for that. We have Sandra Tapfumane on the phone right now. She's in charge of the emergency management for Sarasota County. Sandra, thanks for joining us once again in our special coverage. The eye is passing over Sarasota. It's been very calm, at least where we have been for the last hour or so. The winds are now starting to pick up. Have you gotten any reports about any kind of emergency situation so far? And what are you monitoring?
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for having us on. So right now we have not gotten too many reports of any emergencies. We do anticipate that to increase as the eye wall or the eye passes over the county. Right now it was going over Siesta Key and starting to hit inland a little bit. So it is eerily calm here, and we know that that's not going to be the case in a short time. We're expecting the storm to deteriorate with the conditions.
Yeah, I'm here live in Sarasota. We're right by the bay. The storm surge, you can actually see it coming up now. I'd say it's about ankle high where we are, and we're a little bit above sea level here, so it's coming in. Have you gotten reports about the storm surge yet?
So we did see, we were watching some Department of Transportation cameras along the Philippi Creek, and it looked like it was starting to flood that area, and some reports about Venice Beach having a couple of feet of storm surge down south. So it's starting, it is starting, and I anticipate that, we're going to have multiple feet. We're really hoping that we're not going to get that high end of the 12-foot projection at this point. I mean, we just had Hurricane Helene that created a lot of devastation to the coastline, and that was only 5 to 6 feet. So, anywhere above that, really any storm surge on top of what we already had is going to be a very, very catastrophic situation for the county.
What are you hearing about power outages? Here, the power is out where we are. We're seeing transformers explode in the distance. Have you got any reports about that?
Yeah, we are starting to hear about different parts of the county that are without power. Really, there's a lot of areas that are. So we are trying to get an assessment from FPL to get a total count of how many are out. But that was an anticipation with the high winds. 120-mile-per-hour winds is definitely going to take out a lot of the power. So right now, we're looking at 160,000 out of power, and anticipate that to increase.
All right, Sandra Tapuvume, we appreciate you, and I know we're going to stay in contact throughout the night. Thank you for all that you're doing for the people of Sarasota.
Thank you so very much.
Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we are coming on the air tonight with the newest update from the National Hurricane Center, literally within the last 60 seconds, about that potentially catastrophic hurricane in Florida. It turns out, it appears that Milton has wobbled a bit north toward Tampa. It is also moving fast. It is now expected to make landfall a little earlier than expected, possibly in that 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern range. All of this is on top of the tornadoes already spinning off. At least 17 already reported, some 50 warnings issued already from the National Weather Service in Miami. That's the most they've ever put out in a single day, and it's hitting some of the places you see here. Take a look at some of the video that's been coming in Broward, Hendry, Glades County. I want to show you also some video from a home camera. Look at these trees whipping around as this apparent tornado blows through. This is in Fort Myers. You can actually see it getting more and more intense as the seconds go by. We're going to take you live to Fort Myers in just a second. Some of these tornadoes are even hitting the other side of the state, like in Martin County, where the wind flipped a trailer, snapped some trees. Take a live look right now at the wind, the water in Tampa, St. Pete, Lee County, Jacksonville. This is what is happening on the ground right now. It is only going to get rainier and windier as the night progresses, as this storm is expected to make landfall in maybe as soon as 4 or 5 hours from now. This is between Tampa Bay and Venice. That is the expectation here. You saw ambulances lined up earlier. You see that on the left as hospitals evacuated patients, and highways had been jammed up. But at this point, officials say, listen, stay in, hunker down. If you haven't left by now, don't go at this point. It is simply too late. We've got team coverage tonight. You can see it all across the state. But I want to start with Bill Cairns and this latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Walk us through it, Bill, because it sounds like at this point, Sarasota is about to get hammered with storm surge potentially.
Yes, we've had a bunch of little things happen that has huge effects. So the first thing is in the last couple hours, we had a slight wobble north. Doesn't sound like much, only about 10 miles, but that has now shifted that landfall position. Instead of just right over Sarasota, now the landfall is going to be a little bit up the coast into southern Tampa Bay near Bradenton. And that means that Sarasota is the unfortunate one sitting where the worst storm surge will occur. So that's one thing that's happened. The other thing, the forward speed was supposed to slow down. We're still cruising at 17 miles per hour. It hasn't happened yet, and that's why instead of like landfall at midnight or 2 a.m., now we're thinking maybe 9 p.m., 10 p.m. If it doesn't slow down, maybe even an hour before that. So this is really quickly going to get serious here in Sarasota and southern Tampa Bay. You're getting very close to that northern eastern portion of the eye wall. We'll take a closer look at that. And some dry air and shear has done its job. I mean, we went from 185. This morning we were about 160, and now we're down to 120 miles per hour. We want the wind as weak as possible because that means a lot less wind damage, less people losing power, less people have to do repairs on their structures. But we're already locked in on the storm surge, the rainfall, and of course the tornadoes, which we've had all day long. So here's the new path from the Hurricane Center. Earlier it was just south of Sarasota, and now that center line is up here along the southern portions of Tampa Bay. And the reason that's so important, we've been saying all along, is because if this line goes north up into Pinellas County here, that storm surge at landfall will rush incredibly fast through Tampa Bay and be extremely destructive to thousands of properties. Now we're mostly focused on those properties south here of Sarasota down to Venice, down to, a little bit in Port Charlotte and Fort Myers, but not the brunt of it. Not like we're going to see up here northwards from Venice up to Sarasota. Then we take it just south of I-4 as a Category 1 hurricane in the middle of the night. This is torrential rain from Tampa to Orlando. Wind damage also in those areas. A lot of trees. You're going to have power out in some spots for over a week, I'm sure. Our computer lines, they're still south of this, but look where our storm is. They're north of those lines, Hallie. That was because of that wobble that we saw in the last couple hours. And the biggest impacts is going to be the storm surge changes. Now we're looking at about 9 to 13 feet. We're no longer saying that 10 to 15. That's because we knocked those winds down a little bit to Category 3 instead of Category 4. But a 9 to 13-foot storm surge in this zone is still very problematic. So again, we're in the last couple hours here. I know everyone in the Tampa Bay area is holding their breath. It's a very close call.
Bill, I want you to stand by for 1 second, because on the right side of the screen, we're showing live pictures coming in from some of those cameras that are posted up across the region. That's Tampa Bay on the upper right-hand side of your screen. Just below it earlier, you might have seen the pictures coming out of St. Pete, where you saw people had pulled up in an SUV. They switched the driver and the passenger as they were looking to drive along, presumably to get out of Dodge, essentially. Bill, the tornado factor has been one that has developed in a big way today. Can you talk through that as we're taking a live look here at St. Pete?
Yeah, this has been prolific at producing tornadoes during the day. We've had some big storms, too. And what we're looking at here, this is north of the center, so the wind is blowing offshore, and that's why the water levels are not that high. It's like an anti-surge. Right now, the wind is being blown out of Tampa Bay and away from St. Petersburg. That's why you're not seeing any water there on the streets. I've already seen reports from Naples and up towards the Fort Myers area. We're now in minor, heading towards moderate flood stage because the storm surge is up about 3 or 4 feet in those areas, and it's coming in. That's what will eventually this evening come up the coast. I know you asked about the tornadoes. Last count I saw was 13 tornadoes reported. You can see them dotting the map, 2 of them near Fort Myers. We had a lot near Lake Okeechobee in between West Palm and up to Vero Beach. And even at this hour, we currently have at least 1, 2, 3 tornado warnings near Fort Pierce and Jupiter. So, these tornadoes, I haven't seen, Hallie, like structures destroyed. I haven't really seen many reports of a lot of damage. So this is going to kind of take a little backseat because now that storm surge is about to do extreme damage to houses and businesses as this eye moves closer to shore.
Bill Cairns, I know you're standing by and will be throughout the night here with us. Thank you very much. We're going to get back to you in a minute, but let me bring in Keith Turry now, FEMA's Acting Associate Administrator in the Office of Response and Recovery. Thank you for being with us. I know that it is all hands on deck for you tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to be here.
Let me pick up where Bill Cairns, our meteorologist, just left off on those tornadoes that we've seen all across the state. How does that add to the challenge now that FEMA faces moving forward?
Yeah, this storm is going to bring a range of hazards, as you just heard. Obviously, we have the storm surge as one of the most primary life-threatening threats, but we also have those tornadoes that have been happening throughout the course of the day and are going to continue to happen. And the rainfall is going to create significant risk for flash flooding, but also riverine flooding, as those rivers are going to fill up and the water is not going to have anywhere to go. And so we've been saying all day, our partners at the National Weather Service have been saying all day to take this storm very, very seriously. And it includes that whole range of threats that you're going to see across the entire peninsula.
As we take a live look now on the left-hand side of our screens at Tampa Bay, do you believe that people are, in fact, taking this seriously? Do you have reason to believe that folks have heeded those warnings?
Yeah, that's what we've been seeing, is that there have been folks have been taking it seriously. They have been evacuating. Of course, there's always a few that don't do that, and we will work with our partners to get that message out as long as we possibly can to hope that they will take that action. At this point, as you mentioned, it's probably too late. You need to stay in place at this point. But in general, I think people have heeded the warnings. But obviously, we don't want to lose a single life if we don't have to, and so we'll keep pushing on that as long as we can.
I know that even for folks who are outside that immediate cone as far as direct impact from Milton, one of the big concerns is power outages and the possibility of extended power outages. People bracing against that. That comes with concern over carbon monoxide, because of these gas and diesel powered generators that people use instead. We saw after Helene, according to America's Poison Centers, there was a rise in carbon monoxide exposure. How much of a concern is that for you right now? And what is your warning to folks on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people don't realize that many of the risks that come from these hurricanes comes in the hours and days after the storm passes. And so right now we're focused on the risk of the actual surge, but in the days ahead, there's going to be down power lines to watch out for, floodwaters to make sure you don't walk through or drive through. People are going to have power outages, make sure that you're using flashlights. And if you have those generators, like you just said, they need to be 20 feet or more away from your home. And so this safety message is going to continue for a number of days. And that's still going to be the priority even after the storm clears.
Let me just ask you this. We know that the FEMA director, your boss, basically, has said the agency has the money to get through now to respond to both Helene and to Milton here. Is FEMA ready for what's to come from Milton? And do you need more money? Should Congress come back into session and give additional resources to FEMA?
Yeah, we have all the resources we need, both financial and from a personnel perspective, to respond to both Helene and to Milton. We got the ability to spend the funding in our fiscal year 25 budget. That is enough money for us right now. No one needs to be worried about FEMA not having enough resources. And we have pre-positioned and prepared for this. We plan for multiple hurricanes in a year. It's not a surprise to have multiple hurricanes hitting. It's unfortunate, it's difficult, but we're ready for it. We'll work with our state and local partners to respond.
Keith Turry, I know you got to go. Thank you for spending some time with us here. Appreciate that. Let me go to Sam Brock now, who's live for us in Fort Myers. But this is one of the places we actually showed you earlier. An apparent tornado had blown through. Sam, what's the situation on the ground here as we're showing viewers again those heavy winds just like ripping down a street in the area where you are?
Yeah. It's just started to pick up. But yeah, earlier, absolutely, Hallie, tornadic activity, certainly by all appearances. That's what we saw. Let me walk you through that. Around 11:30, 12 o'clock today, a flurry of tornado warnings started to come through, going off. You know exactly what that high-pitched sound means. You look at your phone. I was at our hotel, actually, which is about 10 or 15 minutes from downtown. Everyone was scurrying about trying to get inside the hotel. Later, our producer capturing some of these images. Not far from there, you have on Colonial Boulevard. It's one of the main strips through Fort Myers of trees that have been splintered and really create a path, much the same in terms of a footprint of a tornado you would expect to see. Metal that had been bended and wrapped around poles. Lots of folks that had close calls. We have not heard anything so far in terms of injuries, but that did really pop up early. It's not surprising that on the southeastern side of this system, we would see tornadoes, but no one was really expecting it so early this morning. Haven't had any since then, but we are starting to see some of the activity in terms of rain and wind really pick up.
Obviously, you're on the outer band of those cities that need to be on highest alert for the potential for a lot of storm surge coming in, especially as you heard that latest track from Bill Cairns here. An 8 to 12-foot storm surge, what does that look like where you are, especially 2 years after Hurricane Ian that blasted Lee County and Fort Myers head on?
Okay, this is the most important point to make. I think those two words together, storm surge, are like immediately traumatizing for anyone that lives around here. Behind me, this is the Caloosahatchee River. All right, the high tide, Hallie, is not until 8:15 tomorrow morning. The river already, and this connects Fort Myers with North Fort Myers, is basically at ground level as we speak. You see that gazebo in the middle of that island out there? That's sitting at about street level. Look where the water is right now. It's only coming up many, many feet. According to our weather folks, we talked to them, the projections for 8 to 12 feet still stand. Now, where we are right now, this is inland, and it is in an evacuation zone, but when you go way farther west, maybe 10 or 15 miles, those barrier islands that sound so familiar and evocative, we're talking about Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel Island, Gasparilla Island, Pine Island, they were decimated 2 years ago by Hurricane Ian. Now, that was more of a wind event as well, but the storm surge created so much havoc, 150 or so deaths related to Ian. Half of them were in Lee County, and you will remember those images, Hallie, of boats. I mean, yachts, commercial boats that were floating above electric towers and just sort of careening their way through the streets of Fort Myers Beach. All of that happened. You know, I remember walking around the blocks and blocks of devastated homes that were just piles of rubble and iron and metal and like 8-foot-high sand dunes. That's the concern right now. If there's any good news in all of this, Hurricane Helene a couple of weeks ago definitely scared some folks there. They got, I think, 6 feet of storm surge. Water was in their home. Sewage in some cases was inside their homes. They're rebuilding these houses and now got to go, in some cases, back to ground zero or square one. Not a good situation at all. But the shelter scenario right now, 7,000 people in this county roughly are in shelters at last check, up from 1,600 yesterday. So at least people appear to be taking the lesson.
That's right. Yeah, some of those shelters even filling up. Sam, really quickly before we let you go, just because I think people are interested in this and they want to know, you are also, and our crew, making precautions to be safe when this storm comes ashore, right?
100%. We are right near a parking garage, which has 5 or 6 levels. There would be nowhere close to any storm surge. It's not really going to be a wind event where we are standing right now. We are 2 minutes away from that. In no way are we in harm's way.
Sam Brock, thank you very much. Let me bring in Jesse Kirsch, who's live for us in Sarasota now. And Jesse, this is the city that would be closest to landfall, though you saw that track now with Milton expected to go just slightly north. That means you are looking, you heard Sam talk about a big storm surge. You are looking at a potentially huge storm surge, 10 to 15 feet. Think about 15 feet. That's like the first story of a house. I mean, just to give people some perspective there, look around your house, right? That's like ceiling height. Generally, it seems like the weather's been coming in waves. It's remarkable to look at the scene behind you now because it's going to look a heck of a lot different in about 5 hours.
Yeah, and Hallie, when you talk about the storm surge potential here, especially with that slight track north, the right side of the storm is typically where we see the strongest winds, the strongest storm surge, the highest storm surge. We're looking at potentially 13 feet. That's like having multiple people stacked on top of each other. The reality is if you are caught in that storm surge, your likelihood of being able to survive it is very, very slim, if not entirely impossible. And I want to go back to where Sam is right now for a moment, Fort Myers area. I just connected with someone yesterday who I met in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian down there more than 2 years ago. And she told me she still is not back in her home from that storm more than 2 years ago. And now this whole area is potentially getting rocked by yet another storm. Here in Sarasota, they have been calling for evacuations as they have in many other areas. We've had intermittent bouts of heavier rain, higher winds, but right now it's relatively calm out here. Right over my shoulder, beyond those buildings you can see, that is Sarasota Bay. And so when that water rushes in, we could potentially see it flooding streets. It just took a couple hours of rain for us to see flooding here already, Hallie, today. Thankfully, that flooding, I'm checking right behind me, several stories down, but that flooding has receded for the time being in the streets. But, you know, that's just from some rain, not to mention the onslaught of storm surge, which we are potentially expecting here.
Yeah. Jesse Kirsch, live for us in Sarasota. Thank you. Let me go now to this theme we've been talking about, right? The issue of Helene and now Milton, right? Milton right on top of another big storm less than 2 weeks ago. And we're hearing some of the stories of people who already lost everything in Helene, now worried about how much worse it could get. Here's our Priscilla Thompson talking with somebody who left their home in St. Pete to head to Orlando ahead of Helene 10 days ago. Watch.
You're really kind of numb. You're really just kind of numb. We've all been in shock. Just your adrenaline just takes over. We've been through a lot of suffering, so I think we understand suffering into such different ways, and I know that we get through it.
So Marissa Parr is just north of St. Pete out in Tampa for us tonight. And Marissa, you look at the situation there. At least 4 shelters are already at capacity in the Tampa Bay area. Presumably a good sign, right? It means people have left those mandatory evacuation zones and they've found safer areas. You've got highways, multiple highways closed to traffic here. Flooding has already started. If people haven't left already, it is too late now, right?
Correct, Hallie. The idea being, you can see the conditions behind me. They are deteriorating very quickly. And I think the idea being, hunker down if you can. They really don't want people on the roads anymore. It is simply not safe and in some ways impossible. We're already starting to see flooding in several roads. I've seen videos and photos of flooding on some streets, and that's just from the rainwater, not even the storm surge yet. And of course, we talked about the barrier islands here off of Pinellas County have already been closed off. We've seen several of the bridges, the major bridges around here. In fact, every single bridge that connects Pinellas County to Tampa and those surrounding areas, those have already been closed for a reason, Hallie. And as you mentioned, I think that the fact that we're already seeing shelters beginning to reach capacity, you talked about those packed highways, does illustrate why it is difficult for some people to make the decision to evacuate. It is not only costly, it is burdensome, it is very difficult to find shelter. We know we ourselves got evacuated out of several different hotels that we were initially booked in because Zone A, Zone B had mandatory evacuations, which included the hotels we were looking to stay in initially. So I want to take you to one person. She is living in Bradenton Beach, and she said that it was a last-minute decision this morning. She knew she had until around noon, but she made a very last-minute decision. We asked her how she was feeling for everyone that chose to stay behind.
Are you worried about your neighbors who chose to stay?
I am, but I love them and I know why.
I know why they're doing it. I understand why they're doing it, and they're hoping that if something slight goes wrong, that they'll be able to fix it, and they'll go to their second floor and they'll be okay. And I hope that that's true.
And Hallie, I will tell you, again, everyone that I have spoken to who chose to ride out the storm, Hurricane Helene, that was the previous one just under 2 weeks ago, did not make that same decision this time. Of course, there are still people we've heard about that are still choosing to ride out Milton, but at this point, this is at the time where it is just not safe to be on those roads if you change your mind at the last moment. And I will also point out, she had so much compassion. You know, she was saying, no matter what, this is a lose-lose. Even if Tampa gets spared from the worst of it, that means that somewhere a different community is bearing the brunt of this, and it's just devastating. These are tight-knit communities up and down the Gulf Coast of Florida.
One thing that I've heard repeatedly is this idea that, hey, the only thing that people feel like they can hope for is that the storm weakens dramatically. That feels extremely unlikely, but to your point, if you hope that it goes south or north, all you're doing, is looking at the potential for others to be in harm's way. Marissa, really quickly before I let you go, the high tide factor is going to be a factor in Tampa Bay too, right? Especially with this latest track.
Absolutely, and that is something everyone is keeping an eye on. I mean, we're talking to people that are at the same hotel that we've been staying at. They're keeping a very close eye on that forecast, of course, knowing that whether or not this storm wobbles north or south and how it coincides, that timing with surge and with the high tide is going to make a massive difference in what they come home to. So every ounce, every inch, every foot of water can make a massive difference, Hallie. We're talking about if someone is inside of their home, if that water level is starting to rise, even a foot could make the difference between someone surviving that or not. Hallie?
Marissa Parra, thank you for being there. We'll check back in with you, I know, in just a little bit. I appreciate it. I want to go to Dana Griffin, who's in Naples now. As we are just learning in the last couple of minutes, Florida has actually set a record, Dana, for tornado warnings in this state for a single day. 111 tornado warnings so far. That is nearly double what the previous record has been because of the way that this storm system is affecting the pressure in this huge part of the state here. We've only seen, based on our NBC News count, at least 17 apparent reported tornadoes. Remember, not every tornado warning corresponds with a tornado on the ground, but this is becoming a big factor, not just along the Gulf Coast, but in other parts of the state as well.
Absolutely. And Hallie, we are in Collier County, one of the counties where one of those tornadoes, at least one of those tornadoes, touched down, going across I-75, just about 26 miles south of where we are now. We were at the beach in Naples when we were conducting interviews, and our phone started alerting, and we saw tornado warning written in bold letters across our phone. So we hightailed it out of there, came to a parking garage further inland and higher up so that we can come back and report some of the scenes that we're seeing here. So at one point we saw the clouds really, really dark, but we did not see any rotations from our vantage point. We've seen the rain bands. We've gotten some gusty winds here. So that's kind of what the feel is like at this very moment. Hallie?
There's also the factor of shelters, right? Because a lot of the shelters in the county where you are high schools, middle schools. That tends to be somewhat typical, although there are some locations that have looked to offload shelters to private sites. They say, hey, kids got to get back to school eventually once the danger of the storm does pass. More imminently, though, the question is whether these shelters can withstand what we're about to see. And officials are pretty confident the answer to that is yes, right?
Absolutely. We spoke to officials here in Collier County. They tell us they have 9 shelters, including 1 special needs shelter. I'm assuming they have some backup generators there because that is for people who need power because of, say, medical devices so that they stay alive. Those are people who pre-registered and they have a caregiver that will go with them. We are told these shelters here have capacity up to 4,600 people. Right now, 1,900 people are in those shelters, but we're told a steady stream of people are coming through. They say they will keep their doors open. They will not close no matter what the storm does. But the good thing is they are so far inland that they believe that they will be safe and protected. And so for people who have not evacuated, maybe there's a financial strain there or there's a concern about whether or not they can bring their pets. There are places you can go, at least here in Naples, and those are some areas you should check out if you have not left, because the storm is coming, and here storm surge is a major threat and will impact this area. Hallie?
You know, Danny, we were just looking at one of the live cameras out of, I think it was St. Pete just a second ago. It looks to my eye like, fortunately, the surfers that you and your crew saw earlier out have made their way back to land, which is obviously a good thing. Is that your sense of it?
Well, we had to leave at the time. They were still there and told us that they were going to stay for another 2 hours. I want to play a bit of our conversation and listen to how they describe this moment. Is there ever a moment during the storm where you say, this is too dangerous, I'm leaving?
Not until we get kicked off. That's about it.
Well, this beach is technically closed, and we've heard law enforcement say people got to get out. Like, are you guys going to just stay anyway?
It was just the beach patrol, so we figured we'd just get by it. Figured it was no problem. Not the cops yet, so just try and enjoy the surf.
And Holly, there were several people out there, including a child. He had his small board. I'm assuming he was with his parents. But this is what they consider a surfer's dream. They do this every time a hurricane is coming. And as you can see, we're feeling some of those wind gusts pick up right now. Holly.
Geez, just a nightmare for so many. Dana, we hope that everybody, including those guys, are safe. Dana, thank you. Let me bring in Venice Mayor Nick Pashota now, who is joining us. Mayor Pashota, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
One of the issues in your neck of the woods, nearly 10% of homes in Venice are mobile homes. One of your mobile home park has something like 200 lots just about a mile from the coast. You have said to people in manufactured houses, mobile homes, to get out and get out now. Have people largely listened? Are you confident that those evacuation zones have, in fact, been evacuated?
Yeah, I think after Ian, taught our mobile home community how at risk they are. So I think that in those specific areas, we've had some success. Yesterday, I think when people saw the forecast, they really started to take it serious. We saw a lot more evacuations yesterday. So I think we're heading in the right direction.
Of course, this stretch of the coast, we know, tends to skew in some parts a little bit older. 6 in 10 people in your community are 65 or older. What is the plan for some of these nursing homes, some of these hospitals in the area, these vulnerable older folks? Have they been able to get what they need?
Yeah, we've had a lot of evacuations. A lot of those organizations have plans, and they activated those plans ahead of time. We have seen the state come in to assist in some of these evacuations with ambulance strike teams. But all in all, I think a good majority have made their way out.
Yeah. How does this feel to you, Mr. Mayor, compared to Ian 2 years ago?
So I've responded to hurricanes for over 20 years, and this has probably been one of the most concerning storms we've seen in my lifetime.
Why do you say that?
It's a trifecta. We've never seen one barreling towards us from this direction, with the surge, with the winds, with the rain, all three of those things. And right after we just had Helene, where we still have debris on our roadways. We saw for the first time ever in history the breach of our dune system with storm surge. So there's a lot of unique things happening that we haven't seen. And a lot of locals that I've talked to that have been here even longer than I have will confirm the same things.
You've got folks now, some of whom have evacuated, some of whom are sheltering in place. They're essentially hunkering down if they're not in a mandatory evacuation zone. One of the things that Venice had to do was shut down the city water plant because of what you're talking about, the potential for a big storm surge. How long is the expectation that people after this storm could be without water? Do you have any sense of a timeline there?
I mean, I experienced it in Charlie when I deployed. It was weeks before some of the water infrastructure could be repaired and replaced. So, wow. I mean, it depends on what happens to the main lines, but I mean, at least a few days.
Mayor, what's your message to people in Venice and to people on the coast before we let you go?
At this point, we're getting to the point where it's going to be 45-mile-an-hour sustained winds. So my biggest message is be safe. Remember, Venetians are very resilient. We'll come together. We will repair from this, but please be safe. Don't venture out in the storm tonight. Now's the time to hunker down and take this seriously.
Mayor Nick Pashota, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. A lot of folks thinking about you and your community tonight and into tomorrow. We'll check back in with you, I know, in the morning. Appreciate it. You heard us talking there about the storm surge. That's been one of the big themes here of this hurricane, given how strong it is. And you heard Mayor Pashota mention, given the angle at which it's approaching Florida, it is more perpendicular, less parallel. That is making the storm surge a big concern, maybe up to 15 feet in spots like Venice, as you just heard. So how does that happen? What are the impacts from something like that? Here's our NBC News meteorologist, Angie Lassman.
When storm surge begins to move into your neighborhood, the initial rush of water can come very suddenly, sometimes in a matter of minutes, quickly cutting off your chance to evacuate. By the time the water depth reaches 3 feet, it can already be too late. This is now a life-threatening situation. Flooded roads will cut off emergency services, and driving or wading through the water to escape will be impossible. As the surge continues to rise past 6 feet, the enormous force of the water pushing into a house can blow out the walls. At 10 feet, water will inundate the entire first floor, making a retreat to the upper floor your only option. Storm surge more than 10 feet can move well inland, sweeping houses off their foundations and destroying entire neighborhoods. In the worst hurricanes, the surge can reach depths of over 20 feet. The threat from storm surge is not something to be underestimated. And with rising sea levels due to climate change, it's likely to be an even greater threat in the years to come.
Good day, everyone. We are coming on the air with breaking news about Hurricane Milton, the storm we've been talking about for days, a powerful Category 4 storm as of this moment. It has already started spawning a series of dangerous tornadoes touching down throughout south central Florida. The highest risk for those tornadoes runs through this afternoon. All of that, of course, ahead of the storm, ahead of the hurricane actually coming ashore, which is expected very late this evening or into tomorrow morning. Let's go to Dana Griffin in Naples, Florida. Dana, what do we know about these tornadoes? Have we had any reports yet of where they actually touched down?
So we're trying to get that information to you now, Kate. I can tell you that we were at Naples Beach just moments ago, and our phone started alerting because of the tornado warnings that were going off. We were seeing lightning at the beach, and the reason we were there was because several surfers were still in the water as that storm surge on the beach itself. Some 2-foot-high waves were coming through. Saw several people who were out there, and so that's why we left and came to a garage so that we could be safe. But we are getting alerts that there have been tornadoes that have touched down, as you mentioned, in south central Florida. We are in Naples, and because we are pretty close to that area, we got those alerts. So we haven't seen any particular funnel clouds or any sort of formations from this vantage point, but we are obviously taking this very seriously, and it is important for people that if you are in an area where you are getting that alert, you should be leaving the area or finding cover, because this is very serious, and this is ahead of Milton. We're already seeing the rain bands in certain parts of Naples. It's stopped for the moment, but this will likely be off and on throughout the day. Again, we are expected to get 5 to 8 feet of storm surge just because we are south of where that impact zone will hit in between Tampa and Sarasota. So it is obviously very concerning. Officials have already warned people, if you haven't got out, you need to leave now. I'll send it back to you, Kate.
Dana, thank you for that. And we're looking at some video on our screen. I'm trying to get a locator for what exactly we're looking at there, but clearly some folks are seeing what look like tornadoes. Let me bring in Al Roker for the very latest. Al, do we have a sense on the map of what part of Florida we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking in the Fort Myers region right now, Kate. And in fact, this is really part and parcel of Milton, 160 miles southwest of Tampa with 145-mile-per-hour winds, moving northeast at 17. We have tornado watches right now in north of Tampa all the way down to Key West till 9 p.m. But take a look at these areas in red. These are all tornado warnings. In fact, this from my colleague Bill Cairns. There is a particularly dangerous situation warning. Media confirming a large tornado that started over near Fort Myers and heading toward Acadia. So we're watching these systems now starting to develop. As you can see, as this storm is getting closer, usually the northeast quadrant is the most dangerous part of the storm. And as that system is making its way, this is that northeast quadrant. So we have for today this area from Melbourne to Englewood to Fort Myers, Moorhaven, Fort Pierce, all in this area, an EF2 or greater tornado possible. I just want to make sure, see if we didn't get some more information in here. We're, in fact, near Clewiston, Florida, also about an hour ago, they had a wedge tornado on the ground. So this is a very strong developing situation right now ahead of the hurricane, actually Milton, actually making landfall. We're expecting, again, landfall sometime around late tonight, early tomorrow morning, Kate. But right now, the main concern are these tornadoes that are firing up and will continue right through this evening, Kate.
Al, thank you so much for that. We're looking at video, Al. I don't know if you have a monitor and you can see this, but it's out of Alligator Alley. Can you just give us a sense for what we're looking at? I mean, just from a meteorological standpoint, that looks like a tornado to me.
Unfortunately, I don't have a video return feed in this studio, but I'm sure if it is what I'm thinking, it's probably a large wedge right now. And the danger as this system moves in, these storms become rain-wrapped. And so they're much harder to see. If we can go to the radar again, Donnie, our meteorologist down that's running this for me, we are looking at more of these storms firing up. And here's the storm surge right now. So not only do we have to worry about the tornadoes, but we've got storm surge 10 to 15 feet, 8 to 12 feet up around Sarasota. High tide is going to be coming in around 6:51 a.m., but it will be rising by the time this thing makes landfall, Kate.
All right, Al, thank you so much. We're looking at a lot of scary-looking video coming in from, obviously, users, people on cell phones taking pictures of dark clouds and even forms that look tornado-like. Let's go to Tom Yamas in Sarasota, Florida. Obviously starting to rain. You're starting to feel those outer bands, Tom. You're not where this you're, I think, just barely in the cone of this tornado threat, but have you seen anything there?
Yeah, I was about 18 floors up about 4 or 5 minutes ago, looking out over the horizon. You could see ominous clouds, but you didn't see any kind of twister shapes. But I do have to tell you, Kate, that we're still 12 hours from landfall, and we're now talking about potential tornado touching down on both the west coast and the east coast of Florida. It speaks to the type of emergency situation that we're in right now. We're still 12 hours, again, from a potential landfall, and we're dealing with tornadoes. We talked a lot about this week about those debris pileups that were happening all around Tampa and Sarasota. And what's sort of wild is that we were worried about the storm surge and the hurricane force winds. But if you think about those debris piles and a tornado, that's even more dangerous, right? Because you have essentially those landmines in front of homes and all across neighborhoods, and they're going to be the potential for, like I said, projectiles, missile-like objects going into windows, going into homes. It's another reason why people have to get off the road right now. Yesterday, I was told that they were going to pull crews off the streets from picking up those debris piles once the tropical storm force winds sort of hit the area. But now that we have this tornado threat, I got to think they've brought all those crews in. So all that debris that's been out there, and a county official told me they only picked up about 5% of it. So there's a lot of just debris and trash all over these neighborhoods is going to stay out there as we're battling now both a hurricane and potential tornadoes that are striking the Sunshine State right now.
Yeah, Tom, I want you to stay with me if you can, but I want to mention that our weather unit, our climate unit here at NBC News has just confirmed that this is an outbreak of tornadoes. They're calling it an outbreak. They're saying there have been 10 or more tornadoes spotted. As Al was pointing out, it's sort of a swath across the middle of Florida, south central Florida that we're talking about. People in that area should be getting alerts on their phones to tell them to take cover and to get inside. To go back to you, Tom, can we talk about what is coming later tonight in terms of the storm surge, right? That's the water that gets pushed by a hurricane. What are you expecting where you are?
Yeah, anywhere from 8 to 15 feet right now, right? It just depends exactly where Hurricane Milton lands. If it wobbles left, if it wobbles right, if it's closer to Tampa, if it's south of Tampa, it's going to impact all those communities that line the Gulf Coast of Florida right now. And even just a few miles north or south that moves, it could really impact people's lives. And so that's what we're waiting for. You know, people have said you cannot survive this type of storm surge. You need to leave. And I'll tell you how drastic the situation is. On some barrier islands, they weren't going to risk people not evacuating. So in some communities, they've actually cut the water off to essentially tell residents, you can't live here anymore. You have to get off the barrier islands because you will not survive that storm surge. But, Kate, going back to what you were saying, we cover tornado outbreaks in Tornado Alley and, states in the South and the Midwest as a major news event because they're highly dangerous. To now talk about a tornado outbreak happening here in Florida hours before a potential landfall, it speaks to what type of critical situation we're in here in Florida. And you got to remember, some people waited to the last minute to evacuate. Hopefully those people are out on the roads. We've been locked down where we are right now in Sarasota. We've made the decision to kind of stay put and cover the storm over the next several hours as it rolls in, because at times it can be too dangerous to be out there on the road. So I really hope people that are trying to get out get to where they need to be. We're in a hotel right now, and I got to tell you, about maybe 2 hours ago, I saw a family load up their car, and take off. I really hope that they're not going to drive for too far because, like we said, just south of us, you have that tornado outbreak.
Yeah, no, you make a very good point, Tom, that this is historic, right? This is a history-making giant hurricane that is going across the entirety of the state, the central part of the state of Florida, from West Coast to East Coast. Al Roker, let me bring you back in. To that point, the weather unit is saying this is an outbreak, 10 or more tornadoes. Tom was talking about the coastal area, but this is affecting potentially inland areas, too.
Take a look right here, Kate. Again, we have this tornado watch that extends well up along the eastern part of Florida, but all the way down to the Keys. But these areas in red, these are tornado warnings. This is where either they're radar indicated or there have been visual sightings. And again, one of the problems that we talk about with climate change induced storms like this, that these hurricanes now, we've had at least 2 of these hurricanes produce one EF3 tornado, which is unheard of, has not happened before. And now we're looking at this outbreak happening. And since we've been on the air, we've seen the increase in tornado warnings coming up. And these are going to continue right on into this evening, because as long as this area is to the northeast of the tornado, should say of the hurricane of Milton, that's where we have the most instability. And because this is such a really dynamic, volatile system, that we're going to be looking at more and more of these tornadoes firing up into this evening, Kate. And again, as it gets darker and they're rain wrapped, they're even going to be harder to see. So this is really a rough point. And to Tom's point, talking about landfall and where we could see the greatest storm surge, right now it looks like it makes landfall somewhere between Venice Beach and Sarasota, with as a Category 3 storm about 10 p.m., 11 p.m. tonight till about 1 to 2 a.m. Now, if that system stays like that, we are going to be looking at the storm surge impacts that happen right along between Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. But again, if this moves to the north of Sarasota, I should say of St. Petersburg and Tampa, it's going to be a rough time. Right now, it looks like most of that moisture, those winds, are going to push into Port Charlotte, to Fort Myers, to Bonita Springs. But if it moves a little further to the north, well, look out. Sarasota to St. Petersburg and Tampa, that's where we're going to see the biggest storm surge coming in. And so that's where we have the problems. That's going to be, and this is only a 10 to 15 mile difference, Kate. So, but right now, the main concern, these tornadoes that are cropping up even as we speak.
Yeah, Al, I'm just struck by your map with so many things going on that map all at the same time. As we said, to recap, an outbreak of tornadoes right now, 10 or more already spotted in Florida. This as the hurricane makes its way, maybe 10 hours away from the hurricane hitting, we've now got tornadoes. That concludes this NBC News special report. We will have much more ahead. You can always find us on our streaming network, NBC News Now. That's where I will be. You can go online, NBCnews.com. A full wrap-up tonight on Nightly News with Lester Holt. I'm Kate Snow. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back to our live coverage of Hurricane Milton. The situation here in Sarasota is starting to turn dire. At first, we had, okay, we're going to go. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go.
Wow, that is a live look right now.
I'm going to send it back to you guys. Gotti, we're okay. We just want to move inside.
Wow. If you're joining us live, we're watching Tom Yamas and his team fall back right now. Just moments ago, Tom Yamas was in the eye of the storm. It was completely quiet. There were people driving around. There was not that storm surge that you're seeing. And now all of a sudden, within a matter of a minute or two, it is complete chaos where he is. The wind gusts are picking up. You see those flashes of light. You see what look like transformers blowing in the background, and that storm surge has come in. Again, we are watching this live feed of Tom Yamas and his team falling back to safety. If you were watching just a few minutes ago, you saw Tom. He was walking out there in the street. He was walking in relative calm. We were just talking about how eerie it was. And now that team is having to fall back to some safety You see the footsteps there in the storm surge that is rising there in Sarasota. Incredible images. We're going to wait for Tom Yamas to reposition in a safer position. They've got a lot of different fallback locations throughout that area, and so they're going to be falling back to one of those safer positions.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Coming on the air early this morning to bring you the very latest on Hurricane Milton.
It tore into Florida as a powerful Category 3, of course, adding new misery to that region already left ravaged by Helene. Seen a lot of flooding, a lot of damage overnight, several deaths being reported from tornadoes that were produced by that storm. Right now, more than 3 million people have no power this morning.
We've got a team of correspondents spread out across the state. Al is here, too. He's tracking the very latest. Let's get started with NBC's Tom Yamas. He's in hard-hit Sarasota. He's been covering the storm all night long. Good morning, Tom.
Hey guys, good morning to you. It was a very dangerous and wild night yesterday here in Sarasota. Hurricane Milton making landfall just north of us in Cedar Key. But once that eye passed over us, we felt the backside of that hurricane. Hurricane force winds north of 100 miles per hour. At one point, we couldn't even get a reading of how strong the winds were here because the gauges we were watching had broken. This is just some of the damage we're seeing this morning. And I'll be completely honest with you, we've just ventured out for the first time tonight. This entire area was flooded yesterday. I'd say it was, from what we saw, 5 to a 6 foot storm surge. But again, we're going to wait for the official records later this morning. It's unclear because it's still dark everywhere in Sarasota of what happened last night and the extent of the damage. But as you guys mentioned at the top of the broadcast, it felt last night like there was nowhere to hide in Florida, whether it be from hurricanes or tornadoes. There was a lot of danger last night, a lot of violence when it came to the weather. People were scrambling, and unfortunately, in some cases, several died.
Yeah, Tom, you, in fact, were one of those people scrambling last night. You've covered many hurricanes. You were standing out in the elements. And there was a moment that was pretty dramatic where you guys just had to kind of take off and take cover. Let's take a quick look at it.
Welcome back to our live coverage of Hurricane Milton. The situation here in Sarasota is starting to turn dire. At first, we had, okay, we're going to go. We got to go.
Tom, you've covered hurricanes again. Moments like that can get frightening. Projectiles flying, all kinds of things. Tell us what was going on.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We had just started reporting on the eye, and within the eye, it's very calm. I mean, it felt like any Saturday night in Sarasota in the summer. I mean, there was no rain, there was no wind. And then our meteorologist, Bill Cairns, told me, look, be careful because it's going to quickly change in the backside of that hurricane. Once it whips around, it's going to be the strongest part of the hurricane. And Hoda and Savannah, I got to tell you, we were out there. 1 minute, it was calm. The next minute, the wind just suddenly picked up. And as we came out of a break, we started to report, started to anchor that portion of the show. A transformer behind us exploded. I didn't see it. I saw the flash, but the crew in front of us, I sort of saw their reaction, and it was time to go in. Everybody was okay. Everybody was fine. We broadcast the entire night from inside of a concrete structure. It was a 5-floor garage where we were able to stay up for 4 hours, anchoring throughout the storm. We anchored the landfall, and then after that, and again, everyone was fine. It was just in that moment that it was a little bit dangerous. I got to be honest with you, around that time, there were several people who were out in their trucks, and they were driving around in the eye, having a good time, you know, doing donuts. I mean, being incredibly reckless. And then at that moment, some of them were still on the road. So I hope they were able to get to higher ground, or at least get to a place where they were safe, because the eye, from the moment the eye hit to the backside of that hurricane was, like I said, within minutes, it got incredibly dangerous.
I know, it's so eerie that in the eye of a storm, it is totally quiet. Like Tom was saying, like a normal Wednesday afternoon, and then all of a sudden the backside comes and hits. All right, Tom, thank you.
Wow. All right. Well, we want to go about 15 miles to the north of Sarasota, where Dylan is this morning. Bradenton, Florida. Dylan, what are you seeing there?
Hey, good morning, guys. You know, to play off of what Tom was just saying, we also were in the eye of the storm last night, and, you know, it went from bad to calm to worse. I mean, the backside of the storm hit with such strong winds. I ended up spending most of the night sleeping on the floor in the bathroom because I was worried my windows were going to blow out. Fortunately, we were in a hotel where a lot of people evacuated their homes to get to because it was a concrete structure and because the windows were rated for winds up to a Category 5 hurricane. So the windows did not blow out. But I will say it was scary last night when you're hearing the winds howling outside, and now getting out this morning and driving around, this is not far from where we reported from yesterday morning in Bradenton, and a hard-hit area from Hurricane Helene. They just start to clean up, and then the storm surge comes back in. In Sarasota, we reported a storm surge of about 10 feet. All of that lifted all of the debris, and then on the backside of the storm where the eye wall came through, winds gusted up to nearly 100 miles per hour once again, and then we started to see the trees coming down. The tops of these palm trees were just sheared off, creating even more damage for these poor folks to have to clean up and come back to their homes after a serious 1-2 punch. Now, we were out this morning. We saw nothing but the sheriffs driving around kind of searching to make sure everybody was okay. They said for residents, stay off the road, especially until the sun comes back out so that they can do their job. And then you can see once the sun comes out just how bad the damage is, guys.
All right, Dylan Dreyer. Dylan, thank you so much.
I don't know if we've shown the video yet, but in Tampa, the top of the Tropicana field, which was supposed to be used as a shelter, sheared off. That's how the winds are. Let's turn to Al.
Yep.
So tell us where Milton is now, where it's headed, but also did it live up to the fears?
Well, look, we'll know more in the next hour or so once daylight happens, but I believe it did. And I think, trying to make sure we made sure you knew what was going to be going on. This is the third landfalling hurricane in Florida this year. That's tied for the most on record. 5 U.S. landfalls this season. That's the second most on record and the 10th major hurricane to make landfall in 8 years as an EF3 or more. Right now, it's a Category 1 storm 10 miles northeast of Cape Canaveral, the Space Coast, 85-mile-per-hour winds. It's moving northeast now at 18 miles per hour, and then we'll just rocket off into the Atlantic, and that'll be that. But in the meantime, we're still dealing with 11 million people at risk for flash flooding, river flooding. There's still extensive street flooding and road closures because of debris and all sorts of detritus out there. Flooding rainfalls still hanging around from Melbourne up to the Palm Coast. Additional 1 to 3 inches of rain in the next hour or two. Considerable flash flooding still hanging around, so we're going to be watching that. And again, rainfall generally from 3 to 7 inches. But in St. Petersburg in the last 24 hours, almost 18.5 inches of rain at one point between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. 5 inches of rain. That's a 1 in 1,000 rainfall event, 1 in 1,000 year rainfall event. Right now, wind gusts 72 Orlando, Jacksonville 25, Melbourne 79, and then we still have storm surges to deal with along the east coast of Florida. West coast, those storm surges will be coming down. Guys?
All right, Al, we'll check back. I just mentioned a couple minutes ago this scene in Tampa. It's at the north of where the storm made landfall, but this is it, Tropicana Field. Now, I mean, this is the baseball field, and I think it was to be used as a shelter in worst case scenario. I don't think it was being used last night, thankfully, but look what happened there.
They had all the cots out and ready to go, and the top just sheared right off of that place. It just shows the power of that wind. Dylan, by the way, was just reporting from Bradenton. We happen to have the city's police chief, Melanie Bevins, with us now. Chief Bevins, so good to have you with us today. I know you guys, the sun hasn't even come up yet. You guys have a lot of work ahead of you, so tell us what's top on your list.
We've already had a couple crews out there before daylight hits, because I know when daylight hits, everybody's going to want to get out there trying to clear some limbs and trees out of major roadways. I have officers with chainsaws. And yes, there is a lot of debris on the road. Not a lot of standing water that we expected, but as I heard on your report here, lots of trees down, lots of palm fronds down.
And what's your sense, Chief, of people? Were they evacuated? Or have you been receiving calls of distress?
We had one rescue operation at about 4 o'clock this morning. A tree fell into a home. My question would be, why were you at the home? But we were able to get in there as soon as we could safely and cut up the tree and rescue them. But largely, I think everybody did listen. And for those who didn't, it may be a recovery effort this morning, more so.
One of the things that happens after a storm, as you said, the sun comes up and residents want to go out and find out. And sometimes some of the worst injuries and even deaths happen afterwards because people get tangled up in power lines, or they think they can do it, or they wade through standing water and don't realize what's in there. What's your message to them?
That's exactly true. Everybody wants to go check their home. I want to go check my home. My officers do, but that's not what's important right now. What's important is that we make some safe pathways to those areas. Down power lines, that's going to be a threat. We still have some standing water in low areas. A lot of cars got stuck last night. We couldn't help them, and so they're still there blocking roadways. Lights are out. I'm just going to guess. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody official, but probably more than 60% of our city is without electricity right now. So we're going to have people getting up. They're going to be starting generators. They're going to make mistakes with how to do that. And so everybody just needs to be mindful that we're all on the same mission, which is to eventually get back to our homes safe and sound.
All right. Bradenton Police Chief Melanie Bevan. Chief Bevan, thank you so much for being with us on a really busy morning. We appreciate it.
Well, that concludes our NBC News special report. Of course, we're going to have the very latest on Milton throughout the morning on today. I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Hoda Kotb. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.